All right, welcome to the Futures Initiative Trading Recap. We are here today with Dubster and a special guest, Myron, who is going to be watching on with our trade recap as we go through our trades of today, trades of tomorrow, and what our expectations are for the following week. With that being said, Dubster, take it away.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. So let me go ahead and start with you guys on NQ today. As you guys can see, I'm currently on the 1 hour frequency right now. And this is a trade that we took early in the morning. We actually waited for this trade for quite a while to happen. But as you guys can see here, off the 1 hour frequency, we currently have here what I call a healthy order block, right? We have this massive top candle with this fair value gap right here, which made this section right here a healthy order block. Went ahead, we drew it out to this section, and we noticed that price action was coming in from this downside all the way for this buy side liquidity. Reason why I was so confident to the downside in a rejection off of this specific section here was because on QQQ, we had a massive liquidity void in this specific zone. So what we went ahead is we drew out our healthy order block, extended this position, drew the GAN box off of this section here from top to bottom of the candle. Entry point for a full position was at the 0.5 off the GAN box. We entered one contract here at the 0.1. As soon as it wicked us in, entered two contracts here at the 0.75, and we entered two more contracts at the 0.5 section. Our stop loss was a couple of ticks above this high of the wick, and we wanted to target pretty much this center part of the fair value gap off the 1 hour. But as soon as you zoom in to the 15-minute, you're able to see that we had a fair value gap here, we had a fair value gap here, and we also had a fair value gap here. But down here, I didn't see anything that I really liked other than this sell side liquidity. But in reality, I didn't expect it to get grabbed today. So what I really target was this fair value gap in this specific section here. My second target was this section here. And for my runners, I actually, instead of going halfway, I expected to get it wicked in and then continue to the upside. And that's exactly what we did. So it was a beautiful trade. And one other thing that I want to mention is that we also took the reversal, not from the bounce from down here, but we noticed that when it came back to the upside, we left the imbalance here, right? Leaving this imbalance off the 15-minute, I went ahead, jumped down to the 5-minute, and we noticed that when it was coming in, it went into the midpoint section here, and I went ahead, I entered the position. I entered a position here to the downside, right off the GAN box point, the half midpoints. Stop loss was going to be on top of this wick, the fair value gaps candle, right above here, and our target was going to be the fair value gaps as well. There's something very important though. When we're coming down to this specific section, first trend was this fair value gap here. Second trend was this second fair value gap here. But I was being a little greedy and I wanted to target this section here. As you guys can see, it actually never wicked me in, but I hold the contract. I was holding it this whole time, went back up, grabbed the fair value gap from the top, and as we expected, we rejected from there and continued to the downside. Little did we know, we actually got wicked out, took profits here, and then it continued, rejected off, and went back to the upside. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys on QQQ our entry for QQQ as well. So this is on options, right? Currently on the 5 minutes, as we expected, the downside, grab the fair value gaps, reject it to the upside, grab this 15-minute fair value gap off the midpoint, and continue to the downside. This was just a paper trade, but it was just something that I wanted to see how it was going to play out on QQQ as well. Now, just so you guys can see the confluence between NQ and QQQ, this is what I was talking about earlier for the fair value gap. We have a massive liquidity void here. So we expected this to come back down. In this case, it came back down, grabbed the sell side liquidity, and went all the way up, targeting this liquidity void. Little did I know was that it was actually gonna go right through it, grab this healthy order block, and reject right off of it. You guys can see it wicked up by a bit, but in reality, we did take this trade on NQ. We didn't take it on options, but the beauty about this was that I did not expect this to run through this liquidity void as the way it did. But luckily, we played off the healthy order block, and our entry point was pretty much almost a sniper entry and continued to the downside. One thing I do want to say is for tomorrow, next week, I would like to see a little downtrade, a little downside, quick retracement to the downside, either off this 4-hour fair value gap, or in this case, what I really would like to see is this healthy order block get played. Reason why is we have the healthy order block here. We have the fair value gap, making it a healthy order block, putting our position off the 0.5 GAN box, stop loss, a couple ticks below, and we're going to go ahead and see what we target. In this case, I'd like to target the break of structure over here, but we'll see how this price action during this section, when it comes back down, moves along, and we'll see our trims from there.
I like that. So your entry point is still, even on a wick that you believe it's going to go back to the upside, you're taking the trade as price is moving against you. That is that's very hard to do mentally, because I mean, think about it logically. Why would you want to take a position knowing that the trend is already working against you, or you're anticipating that your placement is actually a pivot point?
That is correct. And then sometimes you think about it and you're like, why are you going against the trend, right? But in reality, I mean, this strategy is something we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now during these recaps, and it's something we've been forward testing, right? And we noticed that on these specific areas here off the 1-hour frequency, they get rejected. So in this case, this is a strategy that we've been forward testing, and it's something you just got to trust, whether it's going to be a loss or a win. If it's a win, obviously we come down here, we explain what we did. If it's a loss, figure out why. And we've noticed that yesterday, for example, when we were in live trading today, we were talking about why I didn't want to take this specific healthy order block in this section. And we explained this today during live session, right? I said I didn't want to take this healthy order block to the downside here because it was the healthy order block that caused this momentum to the downside. And so from forward testing from all these other back tests that we've done previously, we noticed that these are the healthy order blocks that cause the downside momentum and get mitigated and outrun when they come back up here. And that's the reason why today we chose this specific section and not this specific healthy order block.
That makes sense, because what, we have spoken about this. We have really tested this, and even during our plays have kept an eye on things like this just in case they pop up, which is very good for us to keep in our back pockets, because this is going to happen again. And especially price action today, where things went wild, but looking back, it was predictable.
Yep.
We knew this was going to happen. We knew price was going to retrace. We just did not know the velocity and just how far it would go. So fantastic trades. You know what? It was great entries, great placement. That's awesome. You know what? I have no critiques whatsoever. I think you did a fantastic job. You know what? You stuck to your plan, you stuck to your word. You traded your plan. You didn't try to trade up to your plan. That's something that we also have spoken about, and where, especially me, and I've done this too, where we know where we want price to go to take our larger play, but we're going to try to take all these scalps, all these longer plays up to our big play. But here's the problem. You now expose yourself to the risk of burning everything you've already built.
Yes.
Just to get to your target of where you've already wanted price to go. That doesn't make sense, does it?
No. And one thing we've talked about on these recaps is that we've noticed sometimes where price action comes into these sections right here, either a fair value gap or a healthy order block, and we reject off the 0.5s. We reject off as soon as it goes in, wicks us in, and then continues to the downside, right? We've noticed that. So something we practiced on today was our entry points. We started minimizing our entries with one contract off the first section as soon as we get wicked in, two contracts at the 0.5, at the 0.75, and on our full position at the midpoint, right? And this is something we've talked about so many times, and it's something we practiced today. And that's the beauty about today's trade, that we followed our rules, we kept it true, and we ended up winning on this trade.
You know what? That's it. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. Because, and anyone can tell you this, that sticking to your plan, executing on your plan flawlessly is extremely hard. You have made it to the point where that's the norm. That is the expectation. It's not the goal. It's now this is exactly what I'm going to do when price moves to this area, and win or loss, I'm going to take it.
Yep.
After studying trader after trader after trader after trader, that seems to be one of the biggest hurdles for successful traders. So kudos to you, man. That's freaking awesome. You know, you have come so far, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yep.
All right. So here we have NQ. I also was trading futures today. I was, had a mishap. I burned an account, and then I said, you know what? I'm gonna go back for more. Went and passed three challenges within about an hour. So would I recommend doing that? Absolutely not. That's not beneficial to your education as a trader. It's not beneficial to your mindset as a trader. It's not great to do, and I cannot recommend it. It was something I did. It's something I've kind of become accustomed to doing, and it's something that I need to break from. Okay. But let's talk about today. Okay. Today we took some great trades. We took a few. So we did not catch this play to the upside, which would have been awesome, but we did catch a play to the downside, which was equally as great, right? So we caught a play on QQQ, which I enjoyed, and from there we then caught a few more plays to the downside, but I mostly caught a bunch of scalps today. Okay, had a bunch of scalps around this area just because I saw the large liquidations. I knew that we were going to have to break this come this morning. This is where a good bit of profit of mine came from, because I saw this liquidation off of both candles right here and said, okay, if we don't break this high, we're coming straight down. So this was one of my plays where I went short with my stop loss just above the relatively equal highs, came down and targeted the lows. This was a fantastic trade. After this trade, I kind of sat back and said, okay, you know what? Let's cool it on leveraging in. Let's take a back seat until I found out Apex had a 90% sale, then no holds bar. But I can't be held responsible for that 90% sale. Straight up. But along with that, looking at price action from yesterday, we saw that we had this hour fair value gap right down here. I wanted this to get targeted, and it did. It got targeted in the morning. Immediate rebalance, respected, came down, consequent encroachment, ran all the way up, took out the previous highs, and then the secret sauce broke it. We broke it to the downside, created relatively equal lows. Pay attention here. When you see order flow like this or price like this, what do you think is resting right below that?
Sell side liquidity.
Damn straight. This is institutional orders. Usually institutional orders will be about 10 bars below. So when this breaks, I expect it to come down.
Yeah.
and come down all the way to the weekly fair value gap, which we tested the other day. Now this is all coming full circle. So seeing this massive run up, I was not expecting that. It was good to see. I liked to see that because it took out a lot of buy side liquidity. I mean, that smacked buy side liquidity left, right, and center. So it was good to see that. Next, I would like to see it come down, break the lows below around here, and then break to the upside. Now, you might ask, okay, well, you have all these fair value gaps. Should they be respected? Could they be respected? Are they not going to be respected? Well, that really depends. All right, let's go and look at the 1 hour. So we had this fair value gap, right? Off the 1 hour. We see how well this was respected. This wick came pretty much to consequent encroachment, which is exactly what we wanted. Okay. It then also came back, took out the sell side liquidity down here, came back, we tested again, failed. Why is this failure significant?
Not too sure, to be honest.
Okay. Well, that's fine. That's okay. Let's take this right here. Okay. So let's just take this area right here. I'm going to make it blue. Let's put the GAN box on it. Go ahead and take the GAN box and extend it all the way. My drawing skills are not the best. Okay, so not only do we have a balanced price range here, but we also have a propulsion block right down here.
Okay. Yep.
So why does that even matter that we have a propulsion block? Well, what is a propulsion block gonna do?
Take off to the other side. Well, in this case, to the upside.
Exactly.
Came
Price.
down, filled up the fair value gap, right?
Well, yes. So it took the fair value gap on the downside, and then it ran for its life.
Yeah.
Which is expected. We wanted it to run, and it did. And it went kicking and screaming all the way. So this will be very interesting price action to see, because we've already rejected once off the fair value gap. Do we reject again and head down for the retracement, for the full retracement all the way down and then come up? Or do we go up? Sorry, but going back to the propulsion block, but that is an indication for us that we are going to see a lot of upside movement and price action. So it's indicate. So this is our indicator. We don't need RSI. We don't need MACD. We don't need VWAP. We don't need none of that. This is our indicator. This is what is going to tell us what to do. Right? Our fair value gaps, our liquidity voids, our order blocks. Okay, so like this, but aside from that, so I was not expecting this large of a movement. I was expecting some, but seeing as how we had sell side imbalance, I meant buy side inefficiency down here, it was only natural that we have sell side inefficiency. And this almost comes down to take out the liquidity to the downside. So I'm very curious to see if we just come all the way back down, grab the liquidity, knock this fair value gap once and for all,
And
and
then continue to the upside.
head straight to the upside. Consider it its retracement because we have seen this before. We've seen this setup on a larger time frame. Look at this. We've seen this setup. You come down, chop, 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 small retracement, drop, come back, chop, 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 drop a little bit, but not as far. I like to use the liquidation on the other side of this large drop to give us an indication of where we want price to go. Then we come up, take out the short-term or the intermediate term high up here. We actually took out all the fair value gaps too. Come down, but we did not fully break through the order block. Okay, we have not yet. So we've only tested at. That's why I believe we are going to come back down, because we always retrace down and then come back up. So about halfway of this price range, call it equilibrium. I believe we'll come right back down here, actually. That back up. But would you look at that? The halfway point is exactly where that fair value gap should be ending. So that's my expectation, is that we come all the way back down, test equilibrium, and then it runs and then it runs straight to the upside. But again, that's my thought on this. I would love, to hear anyone else's thoughts, questions, concerns, any ideas. I'm open for all of it. Because look, all questions, comments, concerns are always going to help us to do better.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. I personally do expect some downside real quick. I would like a retracement to the downside, and as we talked earlier, there was a 4-hour, that specific fair value gap right there after the 4-hour that I would
Yep.
like to go ahead and target. So that's literally where I would like price action to come back down, use it as fuel, and continue back to the upside.
Absolutely. I think overnight we're going to see a lot of downside movement.
Yeah. So
I
we'll
think
see.
this is the run up I think we're seeing now is going to be the rejection from the fair value gap to run down, retest. Even if it retests a bit and runs right back up, I think that we could be set. But again, time will tell.
And that's why we've been doing those entry points where as soon as we get wicked in, we enter with one contract. Why? Because we've seen this happen so much.
Exactly. We've seen this song and dance one too many times for us to know that it can easily burn you. It can also easily pay you.
Yeah.
So absolutely fantastic point. And I think one of the best things for us to do is continue on our plan, continue monitoring our entries, because that is what is going to get us across the finish line, is monitoring our entries and monitoring exactly what we're doing on a day by day basis.
Yes, definitely.
And sticking to our plan and not full porting accounts. Let's not do that.
90% Apex accounts. There we
No,
go.
hey, look, I get it. It's not our fault. It's the discount. I'm just kidding. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining. Myron, thank you for being an awesome guest. Dubster, it's always a pleasure. I always appreciate your commentary, your strategy, and your thoughts on price action. And I look forward to many more sessions.
Yeah, thank you for having me.